Hello and welcome to another Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele and I will be your nerd today and every other day that you watch one of my silly little shows. Well, hello there. How are you today? Oh, wait. Yeah, you're alright. So, let's do a week in Bryan because we'll get through that and we'll probably do it in a slightly different order than we normally do. Because part of the week in Bryan, something that happened during the week in Bryan, relates directly to today's topic. So professionally, still working really hard on some Essence 20 stuff. Trying to get a book edited for a client, as well as getting ready to do some re-records for an audiobook. And on top of all of that, I just signed another it's a little short gag. I'm going to make a bunch of D&D NPCs for a book, which will be fun because basically I get to just create, 10 or 15 weird characters that people might run into. And I always enjoy that just because I can kind of let my imagination run wild. And sometimes you can hide something really cool in something that's really banal. You give a really cool backstory to the guy who runs the library, and now suddenly that can be like its own side plot. So it's just really, I just signed up for a little short gig for that, and that'll be fun. Warzone's going strong. This last week we kind of took off. Someone within our Warzone family suffered a family loss, so we kind of, you extend your condolences and you say, I'm there if you need me, but you don't press them for, hey, I need that deadline. Hey, I need that. You give them the week to mourn. You give them it is what it is. So Warzone took a little bit of a pause this week, just because, helping the Warzone family get through a loss. I think that's pretty much it professionally. Personally, this is the last 2 weeks. We're in the last week and a half, give or take. Yeah, last week and a half of the year, and then not that it's a New Year's resolution or anything silly like that, but I'm gonna get back to that diet. Go back to being low carb, and I'm going to lose some weight. I'm actually starting to work out as well, just kind of jumpstart things. I kind of want to get back into this last week. Some of the people on Discord, we were talking about things, and it came up that I used to play a lot of hockey, and I kind of miss feeling like, I feel like right now if somebody handed me a pair of skates and a stick, I would be a stationary turret, and that would be it. I feel like I'd break my ankles trying to skate, and that's not okay. I want to be able to do things a little more physical again. So we'll get to taking a look at that. But the reason why I'm waiting until the New Year's, not, like I said, not for New Year's resolution, but instead it is because we've got like 3 social get-togethers up until the 1st, and every single one of them is going to be a food fest. So I kind of want to just sort of not have to be like, oh, I can't have that, I can't have that, I want to make that, I can't have that. So yeah, it is what it is. But come probably the 2nd, because I think the day of the 1st we have we're having a board game day, which will have lots of snacks and stuff. Either way, I wanted to let you know that I have not forgotten that I need to get back on it and get healthier. But it is a process. Before we get into gaming wise, I wanted to celebrate a couple of cool things. So, this from messages from our sponsors. Savranti, the tabletop board game emulating program, super cool site. Up until The 31st of this year, you have been able to use the TFAPN, the Tafapin discount code to get your 60 days of platinum free. Well, starting on the 1st, starting for the 1st of the new year, our code is changing. Our code is changing from TFAPN to Pro Nerd. It's the same deal. You still get the 60 days of platinum access, complete access to every game that they've got. And you get to set up your account, set up your little profile, your little mini-me. It's super rad, and you should check it out. Again, 60 days free. Might as well you go over there and you know, even just kind of look around. They're always adding new board games, and what I've actually found is I use it if I find a board game that I have super fun playing electronically, that I will go and find. I'll order it on Amazon. I'll go and go to the local game store and be like, hey, can you get this game? Because then I can play it analog style with my friends and family. But you can use the Sovereignty to basically test out how games function. I've played games that I know on there and learned things that I was doing wrong, like scoring or something like one of those. I was adding something up incorrectly, or I was part of the turn process I was doing wrong, because they code them based on the no house rules, nothing like that. It's a straight up, this is how the game is supposed to be played. You basically are kind of learning straight from the game itself how to play. It's really, really cool. You should totally check it out. Like I said, up until the 31st, the TFAPN still works, but I believe as of the 28th, I think she said 28th. Either way, the next code that you're going to use to get your 60 days is Pro Nerd, PRONERD. That is the messages from our sponsors. Let's see. I wanted to talk about a couple of. I got a couple of early Christmas gifts. One of which, so I mentioned that I am very slowly starting, kind of slow crawl a Horus Heresy army of Emperor's Children, Traitor Legion anyway. And it has been slow going on purpose. I got other things to do. It's the holidays. I'm focusing my money on other people, giving, not taking. And one of my friends came over this last weekend. One of my friends and playtesters, I've known him for decades. He came over with the he had been saying that he had a big box for me for a while. I got a Christmas I got a present coming. It's a big box. It's on the way. And when he actually brought it here, he got me one of the Heresy Age of Darkness, like the big box, the big monster box that has all the basic models in it, plus like a Spartan Land Raider. And I mean, like it honestly is way too much for someone to just randomly say, hey, happy birthday. It wasn't birthday, happy Christmas. I mean, I know part of it is because he wants me to get in and start playing. So I gotta do some gluing here pretty soon. But the generosity of my friends, family, and fans, it really, really knows no bounds. Every time one of you guys send me something off of the Amazon wish list, or just send something to my post office box, I can't help but just be humbled by the fact that, there are people out there that want to share in the awesomeness with me. And it's awesome. And speaking of, so on the Facebook page, or one of the Facebook pages that I do a lot of like stuff with, specifically the Power Rangers Renegade Games gaming page, someone was talking about how, quick spoiler for one of the adventures for Power Rangers Essence 20, is there is a petting zoo mascot by the name of Clancy. And Clancy is this awesome ostrich. And ever since we released the adventure that has Clancy in it, he's become kind of unofficial mascot for the Angel Grove based Power Rangers games. You know, everybody's talking about how they want Clancy to come back. They want Clancy to have an appearance. They want, you know, wouldn't it be great if Clancy, there was some talk about someone wanting to make a Clancy Zord. You know, like it's just funny because it's this somewhat trained ostrich that wears a nameplate around his neck that says Clancy, and you can befriend him and become a friend of Clancy, and it's basically like almost like a mini perk. It's fun, but someone was commenting that they were using their printer, using their fabricator or whatever to sculpt a 3D Clancy Muddy. And I said, "Oh my God, that's hilarious!" When you get the files, if you can't hear in the background, my 3D printer is pretty much constantly running, and I was like, "Oh my God, get me a Clancy model for STLs, and I will make a Clancy model. It'll be great." Well, gentleman by the name of Mark, I am not going to try his last name because it is difficult. Not gonna. Mark G. He sent me a message and goes, "Hey, what's your shipping address?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, yeah, why?" And he goes, "Because I printed some extra Clancy's, and I have got to show you that I don't know if my computer will get, or the thing will like draw in and focus on it enough, but I will say this: the model is great. I will definitely be having more Clancy's involved in my games, because he even has the little almost. He even has the little collar that says Clancy on it. I'm gonna see if I can't get it close enough. Oh, it's not gonna do it. Maybe if I do the whole hand thing. It's so hard to do backwards. Oh, wait. There you go. Clancy. So, this guy sent me... Oh, Clancy, no. Gone forever. Sent me a Clancy model. So I can't wait till I get some more Power Rangers models painted up to run some map-based events, because I don't even care if I throw a Clancy in for no reason. There will be Clancy's. It's going to be awesome. So thank you, Mark, for sending that to me. I am over the moon about there being a Clancy. I love it. As we move forward, it's getting close to, this will be the last episode before Christmas time. Christmas time's always gamer friendly here in the Steele household, so we'll see how our collections grow, as the case may be. I am always shocked at people's generosity, and I'm sending out a blanket thank you for everyone who ever buys anything off the Amazon list, or anybody who sends something to the post office box. Blanket, thank you. Which brings us, in this week of Bryan, up to gaming. I did a lot of gaming this last week. I played, I played in a new card game called Puns of Anarchy. It's a dry erase card game where you basically have to, there's just statements on cards, and you have to try and change what the statement is to make it kind of a goofy pun. And of course, if you're playing with a bunch of adults, it just goes downhill fast. But that was a lot of fun. We got a new game called I Should Have Known. And it's a trivia-based game that's just a lot of weird topics, literally across the board. Pop culture, history, science, mythology, name it, everywhere. And it asks these questions, and they vary in difficulty from things that pretty much everyone should know to things that, like, that's a real specific sort of thing. We've played a couple of games of that, and it shows the name of the game is perfect because the number of times that the question gets asked and you sit there and you're like, I know this, I absolutely know this, it is on the tip of my tongue, I know this. And of course you draw a blank because you're in that zone, and then as soon as they give you the answer, you find yourself doing the whole, oh my god, I should have known that. And that's exactly the name of the game. Like it's been a lot of fun. We've played it twice so far. I do think that there may come a time where we either need to get new cards or you kind of need to stop playing, because that's a small box game. There's not a bazillion cards, which means you're going to start doubling up, and that's going to be pretty easy to start memorizing individual events. Now it's cool. It adds this stuff to your slush file of knowledge, but it's still kind of it would make the game a lot less interesting. Also, we played with my kids, my 14-year-olds, and there were some things that we were pretty sure that they should know that they either drew a blank or maybe it wasn't, it was something that I would have known if I was 14, but maybe not them. It is just trivia enough that if you are not someone who holds on to rando facts like that, it might be frustrating. Throw in good old teenage ribbing and makes for a fun evening. But we had a good time. Then I also played in the Waking Realms game, which is the D&D homebrew where I am the cat monk. I really did. I thought this was going to be the end. I thought that Micah was gearing us up towards some big, old one, savage fight, and it has yet again. Another page has turned, and it sounds like we're going off to another potential big bad. Maybe this will be the big bad. I don't know. It's not to say that the game isn't fun or anything like that. It's just you get the concept that things are coming to a close. You think that the end is near, and then it's, oh, not really. And you get that kind of, oh, all right, I guess we keep going. It's awesome. We're still going strong. We're having a lot of fun. We're role-playing. But it is one of those things where it's like you kind of want the eventual big payoff to know, the story has come to a close, even if it's come to a close for these characters, and then maybe we'll pick up with a new set of adventurers or whatnot. But yeah, so that was last Friday, and then on Sunday we played in Natalie's her Land of Monsters game. She mentioned it during her Q&A. We had a lot of fun with that. There was a lot of combat. We kind of ended the session before sort of mid-dungeon, so we had to finish out the dungeon. And at the very end, we actually discovered the avatar of fate. So like basically the earthly representation of a god, bound in magical chains. Like she's been tied to the life essence of a dying child. Like it was a big plot point. For all of we've just been kind of running around killing stuff and adventuring and things like that for the last 4 or 5 sessions. We officially have found the plot. At least this part of the plot is we have to go and find a representation of the smithy god, my character's god, and learn whether it's maybe reading through the temple or getting a magic item, or this is probably going to end up being we've got to go do this adventure to get the item, to go do the other item to come and then break out the goddess. So it's cool. I'm super psyched. She did a great job unveiling, something that in certain circumstances could kind of come off as, oh, MacGuffin. This did not come off as a MacGuffin. This came off as, oh, hey, here's the plot. So it was pretty rad. Very excited on that. And then moving in to the topic of the day. On Saturday, we had our first session 0. I say first because it sounds like there's going to be 2 session 0s because half the players couldn't make it. Of my brand new Essence 20 Transformers based. There may be some crossing over, but right now it is Transformers based. Essence 20 home campaign. And while I was making characters with these guys and explaining stuff to them, someone asked me, is this how I always do things? Do I always make characters with everybody together? And, do I have a story set out? How do I, you know, get people together? And, do you do the everyone wakes up in a bar, that kind of thing. And it occurred to me that might make for a very interesting episode of basically going from pre knowledge all the way through the end of session 0, like getting ready to ready to turn the key on session 1. And I was like, you know what, let's do that. So here's what I do. Here's what I start off. First things first, obviously, you kind of gauge interest with some players. You kind of throw out some feelers. Hey, I was thinking about running a new game. What do you guys think? And depending on who bites, depending on who's like, oh man, that'd be great. How excited are they? Is it something that they know? Is there going to be a huge learning curve? You get kind of all that that pre information down. And then once you are sure that you've got players, like you're going to have players, that's when I tell them, all right, it's going to be a little while, but I'll invite you to the Facebook group when it happens. At this point, I do a Facebook group for every game I run. And that is because it is just simply easier for me to invite people to events, keep people abreast of, oh, hey, don't forget everybody leveled, or this particular session we're going to be half an hour late, but we're going to run a half an hour longer. I just think it's a great place to make sure that everybody is on the same page, the same wavelength, because I could do emails, but then you always run into someone does, the CC, the reply to everybody, and says some kind of big game secret. Is this going to be the week that everyone finds out that I'm the bad guy? Like there's always inevitably that sort of thing. So I just prefer the Facebook groups. So I create one, and I always create the Facebook group with I go and find like a cool banner that kind of somewhat matches the concept. And I then begin what I consider to be the preamble, almost like the prologue to the story that they're going to be playing. And creating that prologue is there going to be a huge twist? Do they actually know what's going on, or is it straightforward? Like, you guys are monster hunters and you're hunting monsters. The prologue is me setting up what the characters are going to know, and where I'm hopefully going to try and take them by the end of the campaign. In this case, I set up the Facebook group for them, a private Facebook group called the Transformers role-playing game Echoes of Alpha Trion, and it is an Autobot-based game where they are making characters out of the main book, out of the main core rule book. If they find things in other Essence 20 games that would work, like an influence here or a piece of equipment there, I'm willing to work with them in any instance. Everybody at the table is an Essence, except for myself, is an Essence 20 novice. So the first couple of sessions of like real gameplay sessions is probably gonna be a lot of learning the system, taking it easy on them, letting them kind of get into their character, figure stuff out before I suddenly unleash like real heavy plot stuff. The pre-planning also, normally I will build a bullet point sheet that says, point A, point Z. When it comes to the telling of the story, I want it to start here and I want it to end here, and everything in between is the cool stuff that the characters are going to do. And then once I've got those kind of initial sort of goal lines, I will fill in the middle part with a bunch of I want them to eventually find a space bridge. So I'll put like a dot space bridge. I want them to eventually go to Junkion, dot Junkion. if I think that there needs to be some kind of cool, like, dramatic betrayal, I'll throw that in there. I'll be like, NPC betrayal. I might not say who it is on my notes, but just knowing that I want to make sure that I add that is a good thing. And I basically write up the beginning, what I would consider to be almost like how like a Star Wars movie has the crawl. I write up the sessions, the kind of session 0 prep. Okay, you guys are a bunch of green, not really tested Autobots here on Earth. You have been handpicked by this NPC, or I figure out a nice NPC that everybody can pay attention to, and you basically say you were handpicked by them for a mission, and you're going to get together first to kind of figure out where on the team that you belong, who's going to be doing what, and then that's when I take care of things, at least in an S20 game. That's where I take care of things like requisition and any major changes, because I don't want to have to do that mid-session. I would rather get it taken care of and have it just be sort of part of getting ready. Part of session 0, in my opinion, is getting characters made. Because once I have the general concept of how the game is going to be, is it going to be constant just grinding enemies? Is it going to be fighting against Decepticons? Is it going to be all like intrigue and espionage? I mean, it's best if I have a general idea, because then when the players start to make characters, if someone goes, when am I going to ever need these espionage skills? I'm a gunner. I can look at them and kind of maybe try and I don't want to say push them into it, but show them why maybe having some skills, having some social skills, having some mental stuff could end up being good in the long run for you and the rest of the team. But yeah, so it's once I've detailed out how the game how the narrative is supposed to go, or how the narrative has been detailed as having gone up until a certain point or something like that, and then once the characters are aware, or once the players are aware, they can build their characters. I prefer to have people build their characters together, especially when it's a new system, because the last thing you want is somebody to completely screw up their numbers and it bends things either for or against the characters. So it's every single player comes to the table, or as many players as you can come to the table for that session 0, and you build your characters. It also it does help a little bit, because it means you can see if the 5 people in your group, nobody's a long range gunner, then maybe you go, I want to fill that role. That's something that you can do, because everybody's there discussing it, talking about it. And unless your game, like the actual game scenario, doesn't allow for it, I almost think it's better to go ahead and make sure that all the player characters kind of know each other going in. It's easier for a game like G.I. Joe or Transformers, because you're already kind of part of a faction that has a base, that has different headquarters, and it would make sense for, you might not know them, but you probably saw them around, and that gives you even better connection between the characters during that session 0. I love it. So, we'll get to the specifics of what happened with character generation for Echoes of Alpha Trion in a second, but basically I let them know that they are a bunch of new Cybertronians that are being tested by, I believe, I don't know if I told them it was Perceptor, but I think it's going to be Perceptor. If it's not Perceptor, it might end up being Blaster. He might have intercepted us from a transmission. But either way, the Autobot upper management is concerned about some radio transmissions that are coming in from like kind of like the deep wastelands in the American Southwest. And so Optimus and and Autobot management they want to send a hand-picked team to go that doesn't that isn't going to cripple another mission that's being prepared, something big is supposed to be happening at the same time. So the player characters are basically, hey, you guys are too new to go do this big huge thing that the rest of the big Autobots are doing, but we really still need somebody to go check this out, so we're sending you. Please and thank you. So that'll be a lot of fun. This is what the Echoes of Alpha Trion are for. And then they'll learn more as the story goes. I built this when I started putting together this game. I started talking to players and things. One of the things that they did ask was, how long are we going to play? Is it going to be a one shot? Is it going to be 10 sessions? Is it going to be 2 years? And what I had told everybody is, it is not a one shot. It's more like a 4 or 5 shot. We'll get 4 or 5 game sessions in, level them up a couple times, get them to solve like a relatively kind of decent plot point, and then I will ask if they want to continue playing or if they want to switch up to something else. Change, systems, change game masters, whatever. But basically, I will leave it at a place that, should they say, no, we're having a lot of fun, let's keep going, then the next session I will know exactly what to do to roll them into the next part of the narrative. Which again, I'm excited. It should be a lot of fun. Then when we sit down after that, we sit down for the actual session 0 and we start walking through character creation. It is, depending on the system, sometimes character creation really does need to be like a handhold situation, step by step by step. Let's make sure that nothing gets missed. For Essence 20, once you kind of know how to make a character, it's pretty easy to just hand somebody a rule book and go, okay, pick your stuff, add your stuff up, make any changes, so forth and so on. It is important for the players, in my opinion, it's important for the players to make their characters at the same time, because if you've got one player that is just gung-ho on playing super overpowered, min-maxed out to the nth degree, the rest of your team should know that. The rest of your team should be aware that you might be a super Billy badass fighter, but if it comes down to puzzles or it comes down to somebody casting a spell that takes over your mind, that you could be more of a liability than an asset if you're built that way. Or it just means that they go, all right, let's pick up this dude here, he's gonna take out everybody. While he's doing that, let's build up our other skills, so that way we know we can get the job done while he's taking care of the combat side of things. So we sat down, and especially for a game like Transformers, you don't have a whole lot of leeway yet, because the main rulebook does have a handful of origins, and then the origins are what sets the general version of your alt mode, or your primary alt mode in the case of a triple changer. But yeah, so it was asking someone, when they make a D&D character, what do you want to be? I want to be an elven warrior, I want to be a blade singer, I want to be a necromancer. That's all well and good. In Transformers, you still have that same concept. You can go, hey, what do you want to be? Oh, I want to be a scout. Oh, I really want to be a field commander. You still have that kind of that main role or class that you want to be into, but there is one other thing that I think is super necessary in a session 0, and that's to find ways to patch the player characters together. Unless your game is completely designed for everyone, nobody knows anybody, everybody's a stranger, and that's part of the magic of the game. If not, what you need to do is you make sure that all of your player characters are aware of what all the other player characters are, and come up with a quick sentence or two that sort of explains them. Like totally stereotypical, totally, yeah, everyone has facets, but this is the general view of this particular character, and you make sure that all of the players get all of that copy, because it will help them on the fly, especially early in the role playing, come up with reasons why their characters should be allies. Why do they travel together? Is there some kind of quirk that this character has that this other one, it drives them crazy? A good session zero will make these characters into legitimate breathing entities. Like they're living, breathing entities as far as your imagination is concerned. And what that does is that it makes more creatable, more relatable characters, whether you're a giant robot or not. And it also sets the stage for if a character has lost, a character's kind of lost their original goals. You can kind of have reasons with the other characters to try and bring them back on track. Again, I can't speak enough about how great session zeros are, and it only, as far as I know, it's only recently been called that, like the last couple of years. But it's always something that we've done. You always get together and make characters. We used to call it a character creation session, or let's all go out to dinner and talk about how our characters know each other. Like this is just how it is. Now it's got a real name. The accepted term is session zero. But yeah, once all the characters got made, I'm gonna grab my folder. So this is something else that I almost always do for every campaign that I run. I'll get a 3-ring binder, or I'll get a folder, and I keep all the character sheets, and I keep all my notes, all my threat blocks, all my NPCs, any like item, like equipment notes that I might need to remind myself about. I keep them all in the folder. That way, because I am the game master, or the dungeon master, or whatever, the game's not going to get run without me. So if I don't have all the cool stuff, then we have to wait until I go pick it up or whatever before we can play anyway. The reason why I like to hold on to my players' character sheets is it's not a lot of people are like, well, you don't trust me to not erase my stuff. It's not a trust factor. It's experience, knowing how many players, how many gamers show up to game and go, oh, I forgot my character, or oh, I left my dice. Like they just, life has gotten in the way. But when it comes to like losing dice, whatever, I forgot a pencil, whatever, I forgot my core rule book, okay, I've got an extra. All that stuff is immediately amenable. I forgot my character sheet. You can't just wing that. You can't just be like, I think I had a +5 in that. Unless you've got a digital copy somewhere, you can look it up real quick and get by for the night. Having paper copies, in my opinion, is just simply better. And what that does is, as a game master, I have all of those. I've got all of the characters all the time. And so that way, if I'm going to run, I grab the folder that says Echoes of Alpha Trion, and I've got everything I need. It's got my notes in there. It's got everything else. Now, of course, it means that if I lose that folder, the game comes crashing to a halt. Well, because I've lost all the characters and I've lost all the notes and all that. But that's pretty far and few between those kinds of instances. So I definitely get some kind of filing system for you to keep all your stuff together. Not to mention, my players will take notes as to who they met, names of corporations, names of stuff, and that's fine. But I want to have it written down too. The last thing I want to do is, in the middle of like a big scene, I go, oh, hey, do you guys remember who the president is? Did I tell you that? And they're like, yes, President Marco, blah blah blah. And that takes you out of the scene if I have to quickly ask, hey, did I already tell you this? Or, oh man, I got to invent this guy. It stops. It kind of puts the brakes on the improv, and that's hard. That's hard to do. So also having note paper in your home session folders It's a great thing because I can keep track of all the NPCs, even if it's all shorthand stuff. I'll have it on hand. So, on this last Saturday, we officially did the session 0 for the Echoes of Alpha Trion, and I had invited all 5 players to the game, or all 6 players to the game. The morning of session 0, one of the players dropped out. They were like, I just don't have time. And one was getting over a late stint of COVID and did not want to risk infecting anybody. And then the other, he just didn't see the Facebook invite until way too late, and he made plans. So I only had a handful. I only had 3 out of the initial 6 players that I planned on this game. We're down to 5, and we might stay that way. I did offer a spot to another player, but I don't know whether or not she'll pick up on whether or not she'll want to actually play. It's neither here nor there. I'm fine with 5. Doesn't have to be 6. I'm fine with 5. And so we made 3 of the characters that are going to be in the Echoes of Alpha Trion group, and I wanted to share them with you. Just a little bit. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of how everything was picked and whatnot. Just know that part of the session 0 is a discussion between game master and player. And so we figured things out. There was some wiggle room, especially for someone like myself that has, yes, we've got the core rulebook and it's out and all that stuff is available. Well, I also have some extra stuff from manuscripts that aren't out yet, that when one of my players goes, oh man, I would love to have one of these items. I would love an anime spaghetti missile launcher. And in the main rulebook, that's not there. So I have to go, well, right now, no. But I do know that in an upcoming source book that there is that piece of equipment. And I have the manuscript, so I could, if I wanted to, go in, find that piece of equipment, and give him special permission to use it. Just like anything else in a role-playing game, you can kind of make that happen. So that is one of the things that I think, as a designer, that it bugs me, because there's times where a player will ask something so perfect, so they want to do this thing, they want to have this ability, and I know that the book that has that in it isn't coming out till next year, and you get caught. For me, I get caught kind of between a rock and a hard place. Do I go ahead and make a copy of those rules, knowing that they could change during development, that they might get cut for printing space, so then I put that in front of the player, and then the player has to make a decision of, do I want to use this untested material? What if it's too powerful? What if it's not powerful enough? So it is what it is when it comes to having the foreknowledge of things that you shouldn't, or that players don't anyway. And I, rather than trying to fill specific roles, like you're the scientist, you're the analyst, you're the this, rather than doing that, I just wanted them to make characters, to have fun and whatnot. And the 3 characters we got Ghost, who is a kind of a beefy off-terrain, like all-terrain roadster, like a motorcycle. So he's the smallest of the group so far, but he is very, very fast, and he is equipped. He spent like all of his equipment stuff to make it happen. He's a close-up fighter that has a gun attached to his big halberd. It's very cool. It'll be a very neat character. And I know one of the things he's planning to earn that Ghost namesake, that he's planning on getting like a jammer to make it literally that like radar doesn't pick him up and that kind of stuff. It's gonna be cool. He's gonna be a cool character. After Ghost, we have Splice. Splice is actually Natalie's character for the game. An Aston Martin, a sleek Aston Martin roadster in a gunmetal gray. That was basically like a Cybertronian street racer, and somewhere, somehow, someone got in and did some experimentation on her. So she's got some glitches, she's got some personality quirks, but she's a very good behind the wheel, and likes getting into firefights. Like, she's actually skilled at it, so that'll be fun. And then the third character that got made was Yukon. Yukon is being played by Bill from Q&A number 3. And Yukon is kind of a big, giant wheeled off-road truck with a winch on the front and a winch on the back. Or, well, there eventually will be a winch on the front and a winch on the back. And designed very much for off-roading, for, you know, shallow water. It's got the big exhaust pipe coming up. He's in his alt mode. He's going to look really cool. But he is a gadgeteer scientist and a machinist by trade. So he's going to be like probably the biggest source of like repairing and energon distribution, and he's going to be kind of the hub, the guy in the chair, except with a wrench. Now, the other two players that are currently in it, one of them has told me what he's planning to make. It looks like this group is going to have more scientists, or at least one more scientist, except this particular one is a guy named Beaker, and I think he's going to be kind of a chemist, but his alt mode of choice isn't Mini Cooper. So he's got this little roller skate car compared to like the giant giant off-road truck. And then Yukon is he's a gadgeteer. So he's the one that kind of builds things on the spot, comes up with ways to use technology. But he's also dedicating a lot of his character to fixing other Autobots. So he's going to be kind of a medic without being a medic, if that makes any sense. He's going to be like a techno medic, which is very, very cool. So yeah, those are the 3 starting characters, and then plus the one that the Mini Cooper, that'll be a 4th, and then our 5th player, we have no idea what he's going to make, and he doesn't know either. It sounds like we're probably going to get together later tonight to discuss that sort of thing. And then that leaves us with one floating 6th chair in case someone wants to join up later. We'll see. But yeah, I still have to get those other 2 characters made. Once that's done, I will go to the Facebook group, and I will write up a quick, like, little introduction of, this is how you guys know each other. This is how, this is what happens when you get called into, Preceptor's office. And at the beginning of session 1, we will do our equipment requisitions, we'll do some role play, and then we'll actually get into the mission itself. So that basically that's how it brings us up to session 1. Now, before session 1, I will plan out session 1. So I'll have my bullet points of, here are the encounters that I want to take. Here's the the number of requisitions, because this is supposed to be a cakewalk. Are there any NPCs that are going to be involved? Are they going to just sit there and chatter to us forever, or do they have information that's really useful? It's basically planning out as much of session 1 as I can. For me, what I like the most about being a DM or a GM is trying to avoid giving away that I'm improving certain things. I love when I get done with the convention game and I go, hey guys, thanks for playing with, thanks for playing, and I hope everything stuck together well. I was kind of winging it. I love it when someone asks, is this module going to be printed? Where can I get a copy of this module? It means that I held myself as improv and kind of on the spot so well that they think that it's going to be going to be published and not just for fun play. So that's always my goal. But yeah, I'll go into the Facebook group. I'll write up the blurb, blah, 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 and then I'll create a event for that particular day. And even the event will have a description of what they were doing, what they are doing, what they hope to accomplish. Because the last thing I want is for someone, especially if several cancellations and it ends up being more than a month before you play, the last thing you want to do is have your characters forget an important piece of information. So what I do is I put that information, that important piece, in the description of the next game. Not only does it help them remember what they're doing, but it helps remind me to put the final touches on everything the way that it's supposed to. It reminds me if there are any NPCs that need to be made, or is there any loot that needs to be set aside? Do I have to find maps for something? That description of the session, even if it's a month in advance, I can look at that and remind myself what needs to get taken care of, or look at that and then go, I need to look at my notes, and then I go to my notebook and figure out what's really going to happen. And then from there, it is just you start playing sessions. So the game has been planned, the game has been created, the characters are created, you've set up your general arc, you know any major NPCs, you hopefully have any game assets that you might need, and then you start to play, which is what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to play games. Yeah, so in a nutshell, that's how I start a home game. Is a little bit of planning, a little bit of plan and prep, a little bit of pre-write, and then session 0, and then between session 0 and session 1 is get everybody nice and ramped up, ready to jump in, and then session 1 is your first event, your first real get together to play. I hope that helps, or I hope maybe it's just informative. Either way, I'm glad you stopped by and listened. Please, if you have any notes or anything or any comments, put them in below. It also will be, this is the second to last episode before I'll do the big awesome Christmas drawing for the comment raffle. Yeah, so please, 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 I know that it's supposed to, if you're in the American, on the American continent, it's supposed to be crazy cold this weekend. Please, please, please be safe, bundle up, get vaccinated, wear a mask. If you're in a place lots of people hacking and coughing and sneezing, there'll be a lot of cold out there, a lot of grumpy people. Try to make everybody just a little bit happier than when you found them. And if everybody does that, then the world will run a lot smoother. So from my house to yours, please, please, please be safe, enjoy yourselves. But more than anything, go out there, play some games. See you in a week. Merry Christmas.